Okay, it looks like I have a good connection. It's gonna snap here. Ugh. And I'm outside of this library so I can just maintain a good connection. And I want to do a book review. I've been holding off on the big bankroll. I read off two of the stories that were very interesting to me, and now I just want to review the rest of it and speak out some quotes that on certain pages stood out to me, and then move on. Let me just say it's very hot in here, and I got the windows up in this very hot sun. It doesn't look like it's so hot, but I had to put up some protection here. So, and this iPod might overheat. I hold the windows up because of noise. There's actually people around, and I just don't want to get their attention too much. But this might overheat. We'll see. Okay, so this is written about Arnold Rothstein, and never had the author gotten an opportunity to interview his subject, the guy he wrote about, ever. Never got to talk to him. He's been going entirely off of third-party sources. So it's interesting how he creates his stories, how he actually. Oh, all right. Yeah, welcome, Pugface. I'm sure I enabled the serious the bad offensive comment alert system. So yeah, you might want to be careful of what you say. It's not me. So this book is about 300 pages long, over 300 pages, and it covers Rothstein's life as far as what the author could find out about him, which he found out a lot of great information. Okay, and this isn't so much a review. I'm gonna just read off quotes from certain pages. So, page 13. Cons in San Francisco had $1 to marry for Rothstein. They had families that came from the same Bessarabian town. So the Cons, it was the mother. Arnold Rothstein's mother came from the Cons. Father, the Rothsteins' mother's side was in San Francisco. Father's side was in New York, and they had a network that they found out about this young single people, and brought them together. They barely, on page 14, they barely met before they were married, because Rothstein's dad took a train or mass transit over to San Francisco. So they barely met. In the ceremony, the rabbi said, and I find this interesting, so long as this glass remains splintered, so long shall you two be joined in marriage. So I never really knew that. I seen it on The Simpsons once, where like the groom stomps on a glass, champagne glass or something like that, and they break it. And I'm like, why do they break this glass? And this is now, this explains it in this book. The splinter means you can't put back a broken glass. So you two are together because they can't put back that broken glass. It's a Jewish thing. On page 15, they settled into a rabbit warren in New York. This thing is falling down. So rabbit warren I found interesting. Yes, it's breaking glass. I see that. What's a rabbit warren? I've never heard of that. I didn't look that up yet. But that's what they settled into. I'm thinking it's some kind of, a rabbit warren would be just like where everybody is like staying. Like, yeah, that's affordable. Probably like an affordable housing, like a hole in the ground, a rabbit warren, a rabbit hole. And I'm sweating here. On page 17, gambling houses always provided regular funds to political organizations and the politicians at about the year 1878. So there was a high dependence upon gambling houses back then, and they were not regulated, so they could get away with a lot. They couldn't think of the really good rules and laws against it. It's very interesting. Okay, yep. Thank you, Tasha. Yes. On page 20, Rothstein was interviewed in 1921, one of the rare interviews, and asked how he became a gambler. And he said, "I always gambled." Or he talked, I think, in a monotone type of way, Arnold Rothstein, as he's portrayed in the Boardwalk Empire, that HBO TV show. They had him for some episodes, and he had this, and it's described in the book. He had this monotone talk, so he'd be like, I always gambled. I can't remember a time when I didn't. Maybe I gambled just to show my father he couldn't tell me what to do." And he probably had like a New York accent, but I don't think so. Okay, so he always gambled. I just did it to show my father, so he couldn't tell me what to do. But I don't think so. I think I gambled because I loved the excitement. When I gambled, nothing else mattered. I could play for hours and not know how much time had passed. So it's like being addicted to something and just not being aware of the time because you're just enjoying yourself so much. And he had that feeling with gambling, the counting of the numbers and like duping people. On page 21, Rothstein found odd hours in pool rooms. I think that's for odd jobs in pool rooms, where originally they were places that sold lottery tickets. Winnings were paid to a pool. They were daily drawings, and lottery tickets were sold all day. That's the original pool room. Since the drawings were held in the evenings, billiard tables were brought in to help customers pass the time while they waited for the drawing. Billiards was improvised to modern-day pocket pool. Rothstein got good at pool and gambled. And that's so interesting. A pool hall used to be just a place for people to buy lottery tickets, and they just wait around until the numbers were called off. But that the waiting of the time, they found games that they could invent and improvise, and it started out with billiards, which is actually different from pool. So they modified billiards into pool, and then turned pool rooms into just straight like dedicated pool rooms that had nothing to do with gambling with lottery tickets. But they gambled with games, and Rothstein got really good at pool, and that's where he really started making his money. On page 22, he loved counting and recounting his money. He would loan money out to people on a weekly basis with a high interest rate. Every $4 that you borrow, $5 had to be paid within a week. So that's tough interest right there. But that's the thing, it wasn't regulated. This is interest that was just made up and agreed on between people without any outside government intervention. So Rothstein was taking advantage of that. He was working in the underworld, but he wasn't doing anything illegal. He was the bankroll guy. He was the money lender. On 24, Arnold owned a big gold watch, but he didn't carry that watch. Instead, it was kept hidden in a drawer. But when it was used, it was mostly used for collateral when he needed to borrow money. So he'd go to the pawnbroker with his gold watch and then borrow some money on that watch as the pawnbroker held it, collateral, it's to hold it. The pawnbrokers would loan Rothstein between $30 and $40, but whatever high interest rates the pawnbrokers may have. Oh, that's the thing. They say that they charge interest. That's what I didn't quite understand. either way, what it came down to is Rothstein made more money than when he bought to buy back his watch. He always made more money than it cost to buy back his watch. But they mention interest too on top of that. Maybe some kind of holding fee on top of that. They can invent these all kinds of different management setups for loans. He learned how to get other people's money to work for him. So that's what he was doing through the gold watch situation. Okay, this is the same page 22. Big Tim Sullivan saw promise in Rothstein. Tim was a politician in the Bowery in New York's East Side. He was generous to widders, W-I-D-D-E-R-S. He was generous to widows and orphans. He bought, I like this, he bought coal in the winter and ice in the summer for the poor. And this was in the early 1920s. He got jobs, fixed violations of city ordinances. People who violated the city ordinance, he would fix it as a go-between. Helped immigrants become citizens. He wore an iron hat in a synagogue. I was curious about, I was looking that up, what he meant. And removed it in a Christian church. Wore an iron hat in a synagogue, and they removed the iron hat for the Christian church. All he asked from the people was to vote straight Democrat. So there's a strong Democrat party, and they were very generous to people to keep the Democrat Party strong. So people associate generosity with the Democrats a lot. On page 27, Tim explained politics to a reporter. Every community has to have some man to look out for the people's interest while they are out earning a living. While the people are out earning a living, they need somebody out there to look out for them. Okay, because you're busy earning a living. You need somebody else to represent you. It doesn't matter if the leader is short, fat, lean, humpbacked with a half tooth. So this leader just has to be willing to work harder than anyone else. The people aren't always grateful when they catch a man with a four flush. This is some gambling reference. No matter how good his excuse is. If they catch you with a four flush, no matter what excuse you come up with, the people will turn against you. There isn't much to it to be a leader. It's just plenty of work. Keep your temper or throw it away. This chip on my tooth happened at age 15. It just the filling fell out a few months ago, and immediately after it fell out, that's when I started getting the stomach sickness, which is over now. It's on page 36, the people could not stand the rotten police corruption. We'll be back after the next election. The people can't stand reform either. So it's like people get angry. There's no DVT. I never had any DVT whatsoever. There's no way. I don't believe it. It's just not, it's not possible. It's nerve issues. Like sitting, if I'd stand up, maybe I'd feel a little bit better right now. Okay, all right. Yep. We'll be back after the next election. The people can't stand reform either. Let's see, on the same page, 36, Mazet investigation. M-A-Z-E-T investigation out of New York brought an inquiry into police conduct. The public was informed of police corruption. The underworld bought their protection. So the gamblers were buying protection from the cops so they wouldn't get their the gambling houses busted. And they physically went in. These cops would physically go in and bust up machines and the whole works, tables, chairs in gambling houses. That's quite an operation that it doesn't sound like it would be very very common today to occur. Well, I can't quite start over. I'm only on 36 anyway. The big, and isn't in the title? You could see that the big bankroll. Yep, no, I'll be getting arrested. Yep, that's coming up. The rates that police charged was made public. Yep, the cops definitely have gone through a lot of changes, but there's a lot that's the same too. Police charged the underworld money to not bust them for their illegal gambling houses, and that was made public in the Mazette investigation. And as early 1900s, 1920s, I didn't quite write that year down. Still, people hate. Okay, on page 38, never get into a game you can't bowl. All right, this is Rothstein's philosophy. Never get into a game you can't bowl. You can't like control. A man was a fool to play against a bigger bankroller. So he was talking about just having more money than the person and being able to play the odds of the long game, where you'd have more of a chance to win bigger, rather than just bet everything on black and one-time deal with your small bankroll. On page 41, Rothstein's bankroll grew primarily through gambling, but also side investments too, if the payoff was good. So yeah, he would invest. It didn't matter to him that he wasn't liked. Yeah, isn't this close enough to a raccoon hat? What mattered was respect for his bankroll. So he didn't care if he was liked, just as long as people respected his bankroll. All bookmakers know the single purpose for racing, and this is on page 49. I'm jumping 10 pages. The single purpose for racing is gambling. And it sounds like they're loosening up the gambling regulations against horse races now as we speak. There was some really strict rules against gambling and on the equestrian tracks, and now they're loosening up those rules just because it's been long enough where a lot of people have forgotten what it was, how corrupt it could get. On page 51, Rothstein, if one man knows something, it's a secret. If two know it, 11 know it. I'm not going to Yellowstone. That's yep, roulette. Yeah, I see. I'm heading towards Denver. I'm in that trajectory. All right, not quite there yet. This is a small town, and I could sit in front of the library. They haven't closed down the Wi-Fi, so I could just plug in. I got a pretty good battery here. Little 20,000 mAh. It's got full lights, so we're good to go with that. Although on Sunday the libraries are closed. I haven't found any that are open, and on Monday it's Memorial Day, so that's another down library day. So I got to pace myself with the battery life. Let's see. Okay. So to buy what? If 2 know it, 11 know it. When 3 know it, 111 know it. So if you're going to keep a secret, you keep it to yourself. You don't share it with anybody. On page 52, Shea didn't trust Rothstein. How can you tell what a Jew's thinking? Extra cap? No, I'm not. No, I'm fine in the car. Look at how roomy this car is. I got so much space. I don't need to go anywhere else to sleep. It's risky anyway. A bear could break in, and when I'm away, I have to be here always. How can you tell what a Jew's thinking? They're different from us. So that's a little racism. I think that's page 52. 53. And Rothstein, they say, really wasn't he was raised up in the Jewish faith, but he never actually worshipped. It was just, it was ingrained in him, but it wasn't a part of his ritual. On 53, Rothstein not only kept his various eggs separate, he frequently divided the yolk from white and kept these apart. I think that's interesting. So you diversify your money, your investments and stuff. That's something I lack. I haven't done. Somebody wants to know something in return? Is this an argument between the chat? Rothstein called people chumps. This is on 53. That's right. Pool hall regulars on Broadway Street obeyed the gambling rules. When one found a pigeon, no one interfered with the plucking. Regulars have watched Rothstein pull the tail feathers out of suckers. So that's at the pool halls. Rothstein would not be, nobody would interfere with Rothstein winning and fooling the suckers. That's just you know, there's other people that like to do that. I think Elvis Travels likes to do that. You can go to his channel and he'll just talk with the people. I just want to do this book review in my hot car. Pool hall regulars on Broadway Street obeyed the gambling. Oh yeah, that's right. On 56. Yeah, it is. Coos Bay is raining. I just went to. I just found out about locating, putting locations on your videos. I just went through like 100 videos on my Cop channel and then put the locations. And you mentioning Coos Bay, I was happy to put them Coquille references. Elvis banned you, but I've seen a picture with you together with him, and I assume that you two were really close friends. All right. Okay, 56. Rothstein played a man for 34 hours of pool. Rothstein played against a man for 34 hours. And straight. And this is at John McGraw's billiard parlor. Oh, it was just a meet and greet type of thing? It was McGraw, the owner of the pool hall, who had to step in and stop the game. Rothstein walked away ahead $10,000. On page 59, Arnstein couldn't get every big gambler to his tables. He had competition. Yeah, I'm reading here. I'm just, I gotta thumb the passages.